Hello. There's been a lot going on recently. I've not posted a video for a while. There was a calm period and then a turbulent one. Just a little bit of background without going into too much that's not mine. My partner is in the middle of conflict with his ex. And he realised that he was in a previous emotionally abusive relationship, and because he's only just realising that now, he's now having to go through essentially a grieving process, as it's seeing things through a new lens. And through that grieving process, there's obviously the anger and resentment. And those stages I was okay with. But then when it came to the loss, going through the grieving stage of loss, and I felt that the processes that he was going through in order to move through that stage was fairly intimate, and it was really confronting for me. It brought up a lot of feelings for me. I didn't for a second question his feelings for me, and I didn't for a second question whether he wanted to get back together with her. I knew those things without a doubt, and so the cause of my feeling uncomfortable about it was really confusing for me. I wasn't quite sure where that stemmed from. And I was going into all the possibilities. I was thinking, well, am I feeling insecure? And then my mind was saying, well, no, like, you're not questioning his feelings for you, so therefore you're not insecure. You don't think he wants to get back together with her, so therefore you're not insecure. But that I've realised that was my mind justifying it. My mind was essentially trying to grasp at a scenario that I was comfortable with accepting. And the one that I grasped onto was, and while this is true, which I'll get to in a moment, it wasn't true in relation to this scenario, was that I was self-betraying, and that I needed to have more self-respect, and not put myself through this pain. And it should be an expectation of mine that this grieving process should have been done before he entered into a relationship with me, and that basically it was unfair for me to watch him go through this, because it was really, really confronting, and I sort of felt, I'm not sure if indignant is the right word, but I'm going to say indignant. And I kept bringing it back to, well, it must be just that my personal values and principles have been compromised, and I need to show myself self-love, and consider stepping away from the relationship while he's going through this process. And basically had all these things coming up which I was grasping onto in order to justify these emotions, try and make sense of them. And I went and did a meditation, and asked myself, what do I need to focus on? What's my lesson in all of this? And again, I got the message that I was self-betraying, that I needed to focus on me. And then I had a reading done the next day, and it said the same thing, that there was what was needed was a not a separation in terms of separating from the relationship, but a physical separation in terms of just having some more space and time, so I can focus on me, and I can put myself first. I can show myself that self-love, and have that love coming from within instead of looking for that externally. And so it's funny how these two, how this are meshed in with my validating my feelings of uncomfortableness. And I was really, really conflicted. I really considered walking away, but then when I went into the thought of actually doing that, that felt really conflicting. I was really battling with myself over that, and it wasn't until I went for a walk in nature, which is always a beautiful reset, that I finally acknowledged to myself that maybe I should be doing that, but I'm not ready to let go yet. And it was the I should talk conversation to myself that made me realize another lesson. I've been bombarded with fucking lessons. Was that all this I should be doing this, I need to be doing this, is all placing expectations on myself far beyond just being okay with where I am now, accepting myself as I am now. And my partner in all of this, while I've been a crazy Fruit Loop, has been totally loving and supportive and allowing, and even when I've told him all of this, and even when I said that I was considering stepping away for a period, he was fully supportive, and so if that's what you feel that you need, then that's okay. And I want to make note that I was actually very proud of myself. I do try and take responsibility for my emotions. I might not always interpret them correctly, but I never would ask him to stop doing what he was doing or change anything that he was doing. It was always bringing it back to myself, and if I needed to do something for myself in order to be okay. And so we were giving each other the space. He went away for a little while, and I was really appreciative of that, and he was really appreciative of that. I realised that, sorry, mum interruptions. Yeah, we both realised that we really needed that space. We needed to explore ourselves outside of each other as a couple, in order to bring about that self-love and that joy for life, and then bring that back together when we meet together. And so the message that I was getting of I was self-betraying, and I needed to focus on me, and I needed to discover what my values and my principles and my boundaries are, because I realized that I didn't actually know what they were. And sometimes when I experience a confronting situation, fear comes up, and it might not necessarily be fear of the confrontation itself, but it's a fear of not knowing how to react. It's a not being able to trust my own discernment as to whether it's something that I need to look at internally, or if it's an external boundary or principle or value that's been overstepped, or not something that I need to go, hang on, like I don't like this, or if it's an emotional response that I need to look at internally and work on. So the space that we gave each other in order to process the uncomfortable emotions that were coming up for both of us, obviously him being uncomfortable with having to process this grief, and me being uncomfortable with the intimacy of that, having that space enabled us both to really come back to ourselves, And that was the self-betraying message, I think, that was coming up. Now we both realise that we really need that, and we're going to make it a regular thing that we have some time for ourselves, especially I feel like me being me outside of being mum as well, so that's really important. Sorry, I just had to pause it while I thought about what I was talking about, lost my train of thought. But yeah, so we were giving each other space, and he came back just for one night in order for us to reconnect, and it was lovely. And while we didn't always agree on everything, we really didn't always understand the other person, but we were endeavouring to, and we sort of made a commitment to just grow with each other, always endeavour for growth. But it was really beautiful because it was in that moment, and I was trying to explain all the feelings that were coming up for me and the thought process as to why I thought that was happening. And then it just came to me, and it's so simple, and I've done this before, and so I was sort of beating myself up that I hadn't thought of it earlier, which is the ego. But it's so simple, and I just asked myself, are these feelings coming from a place of love or fear? And the answer was fear. And in that moment I almost didn't feel like I needed an explanation, because I just knew it was fear-based, and that was enough for me to let it go. And the relief and the peace that came over me was really lovely. Now the next day, and this is me, I should have known that I was going to do this. I have a very analytical mind, thank you, Moon in Gemini. And so out of curiosity, I was like, I need to know where this is all coming from, in order for me to grow, and to not repeat the pattern. So I think I've identified it. I think it's multifaceted, but I do have this underlying limiting belief of I'm not enough. And so while I wasn't questioning his feelings for me, or whether he wanted to get back with his ex, those things weren't in doubt or in question. The question was whether I was enough. And I was questioning that in myself. He wasn't questioning that, I was questioning that in myself. And after realising that underlying belief, and I've had thoughts that derive from that before, but I just didn't realise it still had a hold on me. So just trying to understand the process of where that comes from, so going back to my childhood and identifying the scenarios that happened in order for me to believe that, which is something that I'll continue to look at and work on. But also just identifying the thought. So basically I've conceptualized this thought, and I've identified with it as the self. Hold on, mum duties. And where was I? So I conceptualized this thought, and I have created a sense of self from this belief, which is the ego. And then when I slip back, when I have the unconscious thought, and then I become conscious and realize that I've been unconscious, then my mind goes, oh, I've done it again, and blamed myself, made a judgment of myself for being in that unconscious state, which is essentially a secondary ego response to the first ego response. And so it's just been becoming aware of these thoughts in my mind and questioning them. And someone told me recently, which I really think is a good method, which I'm going to endeavour to practice, is to challenge myself in the moment and go, well, is that true? Like, where's the evidence to support that? And would I say that to a friend or relative? And to just challenge the thought, like that specific thought. And so that's really helping. So I just thought I'd share what's been going on. I will do another video because so much has been going on, but I've realised I'm over 15 minutes already. So yeah, there was an incident with keys, which I'll tell you about. But yeah, thank you, and I will do another video shortly.